Super, yeah. All of you are great. Must be chimpanions. All around amazing students. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as India charts its path towards becoming a $3 trillion economy, a powerhouse, Telangana stands as a pivotal juncture. The session brings together leading voices from the government, industry, and the startup ecosystem to explore how innovation, entrepreneurship, and strategic public-private collaboration can accelerate the state's trajectory. The discussion will highlight the role of deep tech, digital public infrastructure, focused innovation, clusters, and enabling policies that can unlock new growth engines. Ladies and gentlemen, together the panel will examine what Telangana must build today: stronger ecosystems, future-ready talent, and globally competitive startups to shape a thriving innovation-led economy by 2047. So I'm so proud here to stand up in front of you to invite our esteemed panelists onto the table. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause. I know we must be doing Swiggy every day. Huge round of applause for Mr. Nandan Reddy with a huge round of applause. Come on. Oh, now I know the person from Swiggy. Give a big round of applause. So you know you have been spoiling all of us. Do you even realize you have been spoiling all of us? Give a big round of applause. Come on. What an amazing thought that was. The co-founder of Swiggy, one of the most iconic unicorns and most recognized everyday apps. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up is the founder and managing partner, VC Mint. Give a big round of applause for Mr. Aditya Vucci. There is running and jogging. Oh my God, this is a higher in energy. This is high in energy. Huge round of applause to a serial entrepreneur and an investor who's invested in more than 42 companies in the last 18 months. Congratulations. Moving on, we have the founder and managing partner, Aurora Venture Partners. Give a big round of applause for Mr. Gaurav Gulati with a huge round of applause, who leads early stage investments at Aura Ventures. More than 400 crore fund. Oh my God, that's a big figure. Give a big round of applause. Hearty congratulations to you. Moving on, the Startup Solutions Architect Leader, Amazon Web Services, Mr. Gautam Kurumella with a huge round of applause. Look at the simplicity while he walks in. Give a big round of applause. A man with a great vision who helps them with AI and cloud architecture that would enable them to scale globally. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up is the co-founder, 91 Springboard. Give a big round of applause for Mr. Pranay Gupta, who's a pioneer of India's co-working and startup ecosystem, enabling thousands of founders through 91 Springboard as an investor with 91 Ventures. Moving on, we have the founder and CEO, Red Health. Give a big round of applause for this big name, Mr. Pradeep Singh. Huge round of applause. Former scientist at ISRO, building Cosmoserve, a space tech risk removal company from Telangana for the world. All right, moving ahead, we have the co-founder, Perceptine. Give a big round of applause for Mr. Ravi Teja Chivukula, who's the co-founder, a startup developing semi-humanoid robots with full-stack AI platform for the global manufacturing industry. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause for all our esteemed panelists. And it's my absolute pleasure and honor to invite the moderator of today's most interesting session on startups, Mr. Kavikrut, the CEO, T-Hub. So there's so much fan following. Looks like some Pavan Kalyan has dropped in. Give a big round of applause for Mr. Kavi, who actively works with all the founders, corporates, incubators, and ecosystem partners to help build Telangana ecosystem. Let's give a big round of applause. The final session of the 2 days. Huge round of applause, and over to you.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here. This is the last session of the day. The mic just came on. It's the last session of the day, and we are hoping to pack it into a tight 30 minutes of the panel. Then we have a short, very interesting introduction to a very interesting platform. and then we'll do 3 or 4 questions with everyone. Thank you, my team, for embarrassing me every time I'm on stage. And this is a very power-packed panel. You can see we have a lot of people. We don't have good representation of women founders here, so we'll do better next time. We also messed up Aditya's photo, but he's here, so you can see him. We are also sitting in the same order as what's on the screen. I'm very happy to be here. The march to 2047 for a $3 trillion economy cannot happen without startups playing a definitive role. And we don't know what that role is. We don't know what the number contribution will be towards 3 trillion. Mostly startups don't know what they're doing, as you all know. But we hope today in this session that over the next 30, 40 minutes, we will be able to unpack what value startups together can unlock. And for that, the panel is very interesting. Obviously, it's already been introduced by the MC. But I want to just call out a quick show of hands on who's sitting here. So people who founded a company or two. Pretty much everybody. Don't forget, Gaurav. People who've started co-working companies. We have 2 of them. People who actively invest either as angels or manage funds. Basically, almost everyone. People who just took a big risk to quit their jobs and start a company like in the last 2 or 3 years. We have a few people there. People who failed at building ventures either inside their startup or outside. I think most hands will go up. Come on, Prab, you must have failed at something. Okay. So it's a very interesting conversation, and we will focus on what I already spoke about. We are going to keep it free-flowing. It's going to be quite straightforward. We will spend 1 round of questions just asking, what their background sort of portrays on the topic at hand. And then, we'll just go into a 2nd round of questions on what we spoke about. That's the plan. I'll take a small step back before we begin. The startup economy in India is only about 15 to 17 years old. Flipkart was 2007 or 8, right? Swiggy right here is about 11 years? 2014, so it's about 11 years, they just did an IPO. So the industry is super new, and we are talking about the next 22 years. So there's still a lot to be done. And I think when we think of startups, we sometimes only think about consumer tech, and sometimes we only think, now more recently we only talk about deep tech. But when you think about innovation as a larger agenda on where can new, interesting, disruptive enterprises come from, there are actually 3 such places where they can come from. One is hustlers and builders like themselves who step up, leave their cushy jobs and try to do something risky. Most of them fail, some of them succeed. The second place is what happens inside of corporates, which we are not sort of covering today. Massive companies invent amazing products which go on to disrupt, scale, and create basically new ventures. Many companies have systematic ways of doing that. The third place, which we often forget, given how nascent and new our industry and our startup economy is in Hyderabad, in Telangana, in the country, is research and innovation. So if you look at the West historically, a lot of the amazing products we use today, from smartphones to internet to cybersecurity products, they were all born in universities where professors were doing research, and then it got commercialized and ended up for civilian use, right? So we will end today's session within the 60 minutes with a very interesting company here, First Gen, who's here from the UK. They have built a very interesting platform which works like a plug-and-play system for non-commercialized research, which could be patented or not. So basically innovation that has not been commercialized, to take it to market, which could later be taken over by a founder, it could be purchased by an investor, it could even be completely 100% acquired by a enterprise. This is new to us as a country, and because we're talking about the future, I thought we should end with something that opens up our minds to something that is so new to us that will help us get to 2047. So I'll invite Philip and Clemens post the conversation ends here. That's it, that's all for my spiel. We'll jump in now, I'll take my seat. Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, great. No. We have a few mics here, so we'll pass around. It's a big table. I'll start off with Nandan. Nandan's not often seen on panels, so he's doing a big favor by being here and helping us have a conversation. Nandan's from Hyderabad, but 14 years ago moved to Bangalore, to set up and launch a company called Bundle Technologies. If you haven't heard of it, that means you have never seen your Swiggy order invoice. If you see it, you'll see bundle on it. They started out to build an aggregated platform for courier packages. Of course, none of you have heard this. And then they found that the biggest reason when food deliveries happen, 10 years ago, you used to call your restaurant to ask, where is my order? That was the biggest cause for calls, and you just couldn't track your orders. So they started 10, 11 years ago in Koramangala with a limited menu, with limited restaurants, and have grown into what has become today synonymous with food delivery. So I have one opening question for you, Nandan, which is, what does it feel like to go through that whole journey in a decade? Many founders aspire to do that. What did you learn along the way? Your heart is in Hyderabad, but your work is in Bangalore. So tell us a little bit about that too.
So, loaded question. Firstly, great to be here, by the way. Always good to be back in hometown. I was born and brought up in Hyderabad. And keep coming back, keep finding excuses to come back to Hyderabad as often as possible. So, I think in general, looking at the journey over a decade, largely it does feel a little surreal, and I think it's always basically also in a zone where it is also unfinished, because there is always more to do. There's always more to get done. So we pretty much come from a place of saying always be paranoid, always be basically pushing. So we take it one day at a time, 1 month, max 1 year at a time, and usually not someone to look back so often. But I think it's been a lot of lucky coincidences, some good decisions, some bad decisions, just all of them pretty much, let's say, add up over time. But yeah, that's largely, I think, maybe a way to describe it. Learnings, I think, I can maybe go in multiple different places, but largely, I think, the one thing that just maybe keeps us going is being able to kind of build consumer products that I love, and potentially be able to build things that we ourselves can use that consumers find value in, and being paranoid, right? Like these are the two things that we are usually kind of looking at.
Being paranoid. Thank you, Nandan. And many of you may not know this. When you look at multiple co-founder companies, the companies where co-founders divide and rule is where the most interesting things start happening. Nandan runs, I don't know what to call it. Nandan runs everything new at Swiggy.
Yeah, new initiatives.
Everything new at Swiggy, like a lab. They started, how many of you remember Swiggy Minis? It's good they don't remember it. It didn't do as well as they wanted it to. It's still somewhere there hidden on the app. But Instamart, which has now become synonymous with ordering groceries in 10 minutes, was also started in this lab, and it's become as large as you can see today. Quick commerce was invented there. So that's Nandan's role there. Thank you, Nandan. So you've seen all the big ups and downs. I'll just shift to Prab next. Prab, you were in a cushy consulting job, decided to quit it, then come to Hyderabad for many reasons which we don't have to get into today. But you chose to build a healthcare operations company, which is now phenomenally supercharged with technology and AI in this city. And I know you made a very consultant-like, framework-based choice to do it with some heart in it. Tell us about that choice, and tell us, in your view, what should we do next as a city, as a community, to get to our path towards 3 trillion and 2047?
I grew up in Chandigarh, Kavi, so I carried a chip on my shoulder that I am from a well-planned city, and I moved to Hyderabad in 2014, and I was just taken aback by how Hyderabad offered an amazing mix of quality of life, along with a lot of things that, a natural choice like a Delhi. Like being a Punjabi, a lot of people ask me if my head office is in Delhi, right? But the quality of life in 2014 in Hyderabad was amazing. So when I went out to do my MBA and then a job and decided to start up, I was very sure that I can't build out of Bombay, where I've lived in 10 years, because of the, I wanted a quality of life. But more importantly, when we actually looked at the industry that I am in, I run ambulances for a living. And what we needed is strong healthcare ecosystem. I believe Hyderabad, when it comes to hospitals, is the capital of healthcare. A lot of pharmaceutical companies are also here as well. But also what we forget is Hyderabad is the mapping capital of the world almost, right? When you speak to people in Apple and in Google, they run their mapping system here. So we realized that, hey, that's an advantage. We'll find a lot of talent that knows that side of the world. And also logistics. Hyderabad was easier to build, given that it doesn't have the constraints that Bombay has. To build an ambulance business is a hyper-local business, right? Bombay had unique constraints Delhi was too large. Bangalore, the first question that everyone would have asked is, how would you manage the traffic? Hyderabad just was such an organic choice for us. And for me, who was looking to settle down, have my family grew up here, quality of life, clean air, fantastic infrastructure mattered. And then when I was looking at it from building a company standpoint, the residual, you know, the ecosystem that we speak about was present here, but also it gave us proximity. I mean, come on, Hyderabad airport is 30 minutes away. I fly, we are in 40 cities, and all those 40 cities are accessible. There's not a single indirect flight that I have to take, a single connection I have to take to fly to all those cities. So I think Hyderabad has now, I recommend it to everyone who's looking to start up, barring maybe a few challenges like we speak of, how can we attract more investors to set up shop here? Glad to see a few people who are doing that. But otherwise, for me, if a young startup's looking to come in, Hyderabad's now such a fantastic ecosystem, and thanks a lot to you as well.
Doing our jobs. You didn't queue up on 2047, I'll come back to that, but you did a fantastic job of segueing to Gaurav when you spoke about Delhi. You also spoke about flying in, you also spoke about, you know, we need more investors. So Gaurav runs Aroa Ventures. We are doing introductions as part of this. We also had the opportunity to work together back at OYO. But more interestingly, both Gaurav and Pranay started co-working companies. Sometimes we don't understand how important co-working is. We always look at co-working as one of the things that we do for startups. The reason is important is because 15 years ago, if you wanted to start a company in India as a founder, you will not get a bride or a groom, that's secondary. But more importantly, if you wanted an office in India for 2 people, it was impossible to do that. You just can't get office for 2 people. So one of the first interventions, which is why T-Hub also started with that, was that you should allow 2 people to register a small company and get started. So, Pranay started 91 Springboard, which is the pioneering co-working company in India. And Gaurav started Innovate, which happened to be one of the most premium and did very well. But a question for you, Gaurav, is most of your life, everything has been in Delhi. You've been in NCR mostly. I know you spent some time in the US. The question is, I know that you recently came to Hyderabad. 100 people applied to pitch to your 400 crore fund, and then something very interesting happened. So tell us about that. Also tell us about regionally, for Telangana, which direction are we heading from a startup investor lens, and what is getting you very excited about it?
Thank you for that. Am I audible?
You're audible.
Yeah.
Keep it close.
Sure. Thank you, Kavi. It's a pleasure actually to be here. As you rightfully pointed out, my introduction to Hyderabad is very new. The first time I ever landed in Hyderabad was 3 years ago. And that's where I got introduced to this whole idea of government funds of funds. Prior to that, I wasn't even aware that state governments or central government was investing in funds. So Hyderabad is very close to heart from that perspective. We have since then expanded the partnership at Aroa. A partner named Shekhar Puli, who joined the firm last year, is originally from Hyderabad, so that's another commitment from our end to the region. And coming back to what you mentioned about our experience here, 3 months ago is when I reached out to you saying that, hey, it would be interesting to do a demo day at T-Hub. Our focus is healthcare sustainability and deep tech. And surprisingly, within a span of, I think, 20 to 25 days, we received actually over 170 applications. And typically, all VCs or investment firms will go through a quick screening. We were able to shortlist that down to a little over 100 startups, out of which on demo day, 23 startups were finalized for the one-on-one pitches. And from the 23, we were just fascinated to see the quality of the founders, the clarity with which the problem statements were defined, and the commitment to execute in a highly bootstrapped manner. A lot of people get caught up in this idea of raising funds and quickly raising funds and deploying, but that's one significant difference that I noticed, at least in the startups that we ended up finalizing. So out of the 8, I'm actually happy to actually share this here, is that as of last night, we've signed 3 term sheets with 8 of, and I think out of the 8, we may have at least 2 or 3 more that'll get finalized in the next week or two.
These are phenomenal numbers. So 8 out of 100, 70. Yeah. So about a 4% term sheet offer rate, which is unheard of.
Yeah, but again, I would like to emphasize the quality of the founding teams. So we had, even from an age distribution perspective, some firms, founders and I think out of the 8, we may have at least 2 or 3 more that will get finalized in the next week or two.
These are phenomenal numbers. So 8 out of 100, 70. Yeah. So about a 4% term sheet offer rate.
Quality of the founding teams. So we had, even from an age distribution perspective, some firms, founders in their early 20s, but also experienced professionals who have had decades of experience in the US, have set up shop here in India, and in a very diligent way building these businesses out. So I'm certainly a huge fan. We are committed to the region, and I think the sectors that we're focused on will end up playing a significant role in the vision 2047.
Fantastic. You also gave me a good segue into talking to Chiran and Ravi here. So that's right, that's very interesting. When I came in here too, I was surprised by the quality of founders. And I asked myself this question, which a lot of people ask now, which is saying, where are all these founders? We don't see them at all. And my answer is always, in Hyderabad, founders are busy putting their heads down and building, right? But sometimes they're on panels. They emerge to meet us on panels. So, I'll segue that to both Chiran and Ravi. Chiran, you were busy at ISRO doing some very cool stuff, which you should tell us about in 30 seconds. But you decided to quit all of that and come back to start a space debris removal company. And you chose not to do it in Bangalore. Again, this is not a race. But given the summit that we are at, we'd love to hear why you did that and move back to Hyderabad to build a space debris removal company.
Yeah, am I audible? Yeah. Yes, you are. Okay. So first of all, thank you Telangana Rising Global Summit for giving me this opportunity. And I'm privileged to sit with my seniors, may not be in age, but, but building the organization. So I'm privileged to sit with them. So every childhood story starts with once upon a time there used to be. And my story today also starts with once upon a time there used to be space in space. Now the space is not there. It's all cluttered with debris. And this space debris is actually creating greater threat to the operational satellites. So that's when I decided that I should do something about this. And the space debris, it's going to increase with exponential increase in satellite launches. So if we let that happen, the future generations, that means our children and grandchildren, will never be able to use space again. So that's the whole big problem. So at Cosmos of Space, we are building these solutions for space debris problem. And this is highly essential for the space economy to grow to $1.8 trillion by 2035. And what I mean by, do you know here that we are in top 5 nations in spacefaring nations, right? And in some cases, we are even top nation. But do you know what is the share of the global space economy of India? It's just 2%. So why? Because ISRO is the only organization having that burden on their shoulders, moving forward and building this stuff till now. And then government has opened up space to all in 2020, and players like us are coming in. And the target given to us is to take the 2% share to 8% by 2030. So Telangana has got a great potential to contribute to this particular goal. And why I moved from Bangalore to Hyderabad, again, as you said, I'm not comparing with Bangalore, but Bangalore I really like. I worked there at ISRO for 6 years. I decided that I will build Cosmosov at Bangalore because I know where I get what I want, especially in space domain. So that's very much clear for me, and I wanted to build out of Bangalore. Then one day happened to come to Skyroot, saw their amazing facility, and if someone can build in our own homeland such kind of facility, why can't I? And then I started exploring the places here. Then I realized that all the manufacturing facilities and the testing facilities are all available in Hyderabad, thanks to DRDO for establishing these facilities. Everything is available. And the two important things here, T-Hub and T-Works, which are not there elsewhere. T-Hub, the largest innovation center, which builds the beautiful ecosystem. And T-Works, you go with an idea and they give a prototype to you. So these kind of facilities are very much important at an early stage. So after seeing all these facilities, I decided to move to Hyderabad. And very recently, I got a call from Secretariat, from one of the government officials. They invited me to Secretariat. They read an article about me and they told like, you're building something great and how can we contribute and how can we help you building this stuff. I think this kind of things, I don't know whether it will happen elsewhere or not, but it is happening in Hyderabad and very happy that I took the step of moving to Hyderabad. Thank you.
Amazing. Tell us in 10 seconds what you did at ISRO, because it's so cool. What you did at ISRO. Just tell us what you were doing before
So I was a deputy project director for the Gaganyaan program, which is set to send humans to space in our own rocket and bring them back safely. I represented India on a global platform for space debris mitigation, understood how big is the problem, what are the technologies available, and where are the gaps. That's when I started building Cosmos of Space. 30 seconds over.
Amazing. Truly rocket science. Over to Ravi, and then I'll come to the rest right after. Ravi, if you guys haven't taken a walk around the stalls area, please go back after this and do it. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. There are these robots walking all around, as you may have noticed. But I want you to go to the Perceptine stall in the IT department area. There's a robotic arm and there's a semi-humanoid robot that you should check out. Today, these robots can assemble, like humans, things on the assembly line. He will tell us about it. But in addition to that, Ravi, my question for you is, and let's talk about the future a little bit. You guys are building world-class robots out of Hyderabad, out of Telangana, and building it for the world. What do you don't have? What more do we need to do together as an ecosystem? And tell us about Perceptine.
Yeah, I think, thanks Kavi for asking that. And yeah, we are building global cutting-edge technology, AI-powered robots from Hyderabad, from Telangana. The biggest, we need three things, in my opinion, to build deep tech, like cutting-edge tech, right? A, we need capital. We need capital that can help you focus, basically, can actually help you innovate, right? So most capital that's available in India, that's, mostly for businesses where the models and the technology has been proven. But what we need is risk capital, especially for deep tech, right? And that's something that's really, falling in place with the, government's RDI initiative and a lot of, initiatives here in Telangana. But I think that's a very, very good thing that's falling now in place. The fact that we are all talking about deep tech now, and it wasn't the case even 3 years ago, I think that's a very good change to begin with. So I think capital is the most important thing, and that's really falling in place. Two, we need talent. Right? We need good people who have been experts in their field for 10, 15, 20 years, right? And not just fresh college grads. Like fresh college grads are good, but their aptitude and their energy is different. But an experienced person who has 15, 20 years of dedicated experience in a field, those are the kind of people whom we need. And so there are two things at work. One, of course, Trump's work in the US, but there is a lot of attraction here, especially for Hyderabad, and where in our organization we've had at least 4 people, who actually returned from the US and wanted to build something, and then they saw us and they wanted to join like a cutting edge technology that we are building. So I think talent, both of these are working really well, especially in Telangana. I share a very similar story like Chiran, right? I mean, wanted to move back to Hyderabad and made a very conscious decision. Looking at the infrastructure here, looking at, the fact that governments here recognize startups. Right? And that's something, very like what happens in other tier 1 cities in our country. Like government here have something called T-Hub, have something called T-Works, and they actively recognize and encourage startups, something that's absolutely important, right? And 3, of course, is the infrastructure and the kind of institutions which I've already touched upon. I think all of these 3, some of them are just macro trends and they're really falling in place. And the third one, I think the Telangana government here is doing a very good job in terms of the T-Hub and T-Works and all the other infrastructure and infrastructure.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ravi. We'll now take a step back, talk about community ecosystem. We have Gautam here from AWS, who's basically figuring out how can the AWS platform and its architecture actually help startups build what they do. Gautam, and I'll give you guys a fun fact. It is not easy to raise funding. As T-Hub also for us, and as you know, a representation of what the government is doing, it is very hard to do that. But I'll tell you a fun fact that we were just reviewing. In the last 2 years, while we've dispensed about $1 million, 8.5 crores or so in funding via the separate funds that we manage, but we dispensed 36 crores in credits from AWS, from Google, from Microsoft. We are the largest incubator distributing credits, you know, in the country. So, and that's only possible because corporates like yourself, companies, large companies like yourself, care for startups. Tell us why do you care, and tell us what is your plan to 2047, so that we can keep relying on you guys to get to our march to that.
So, a couple of things, right? I think AWS and Amazon has presence in the state in Hyderabad for a very long period of time. But most of the developers in the room or the startup founders, you know, you can actually remember the one thing that connects, if you go to the AWS console, is something called as AP South 2, which is nothing but actually the infrastructure that we have in Hyderabad, right? So, Hyde region came up in year 2022. That's one of our biggest infrastructure, you know, investments in the country, and the whole idea is actually we are here for long, right? So, again, multiple things have to sort of converge if you have to invest, if you have to make that kind of an investment. You know, there has to be like power, cooling, support from the government, the local talent, you know, world-class operations, so on and so forth, right? So all of these things sort of converged, and you know, all of these things happened. So if I had to draw the analogy, so in generally most of the Western countries, so you build the infrastructure, right? So before the cities come up, you build the infrastructure or the highways, you develop those first. So I think if you have to draw the parallels, so we have now those compute infrastructure or the digital highways, so to speak. Now we have, you know, ample opportunity and capacity for the local startups, the businesses, and digital and smart cities to come up and leverage those compute rails that we have. In terms of how we are actually using some of those things and enabling some of the startups, one of the things that we have actually started as a program, what we internally call as AWS Activate, and it's pretty much resonates with pretty much all the founders in the country. That's actually access to the initial compute, to, you know, try your product, to build your product, to test the waters, and, you know, get to a stage where you actually can do your product market fit, right? I think that's extremely important, because at that point of time, you actually literally don't have any backup or any support from any venture-backed you know, firm. So I think that's a very important stuff. The second thing is, from a journey standpoint, there are 3 phases to that, right? So one is the development phase, what we call as co-build, where experts from AWS also get involved in terms of giving them the right, I would say, guidance in development. But once you have the product, you know, how you actually market those things, right? The whole idea of co-marketing, and once the co-marketing and you scale using the marketing mechanisms, how you can actually co-sell. So some of those things are all integrated as part of these programs that we have for startups. And, you know, T-Hub as a partner has been like, you know, core to our mission in terms of, you know, making or identifying the right startups early on and engaging them and providing them the right support. So, like I said, we are here for long, so these investments would continue to happen in the coming years, and we are super excited to see, you know, what we can actually do in this state and with the talent that we have in Hyderabad.
Thank you, Gautam. I'll come to Pranay and then Aditya. Sorry, saving the best for the last. Pranay, you've obviously seen a lot in the last decade plus of building, you know, a 91 Springboard, but so you started a co-working company which is doing really well now. Then you went into investing, angel syndicates, all of that. All of that is a phenomenal story. I want to hear where that's going for you in the future. What do you think are the areas, because when you do small checks, right, you see that better than what VCs in some ways do. What are the bright spots that you see where there's a lot of opportunity, like a request for startups that Y Combinator does? You're sitting here. What are the 4 or 5 areas where you would love to see early stage founders build? And of course, tie it back to, you know, what we should do as a state.
Sure. But, hello. So Kavi, I'll also talk about one thing where I want to thank Hyderabad. 91 Springboard became a co-working company because of Hyderabad.
Really?
And we started out of Delhi. We were trying to do a small fund with a space and an ecosystem. The fund was taking time, right? But our first space filled up. We got another opportunity in Gurgaon. We filled that up. But when Hyderabad, we got an opportunity, right? There was, so Penar Industries, they had some floors empty, and they said, why don't you run it here? We said, let's try to run one remotely, and if we can do one remotely, we can do 100 remote. And once that became successful is when we said we are in the co-working business. We'll keep the fun part a bit aside and we'll focus on co-working. So Hyderabad ecosystem has always had a very important role in the journey I've played. Coming back to investments, I'm running a syndicate fund investing about 50 crore to 1.5 crore, advising another VC fund. And the kind of startups we are seeing here, especially focused on deep tech, AI as a space, medtech, biotech space, I think that's amazing. The one other space which is still a bit under the VC radar, which I'm loving, and I think that's where founders can focus a lot more on, is the advanced engineering and manufacturing space. So there's a portfolio company of ours called Thermoflight. They started with creating what's called refractory materials, which is used in steel factories. The founders are students who started out of IT Hyderabad. And now they're creating advanced materials company as a subsidiary in tie-up with, so like when I say in tie-up, I mean customers like Midhanis, etc. And the moment I'm saying that name, you recognize that that's like the ecosystem of Hyderabad playing. So this advanced engineering and manufacturing, I think, is still under the radar space. And as Hyderabad, as entrepreneurs, as investors, we can build really good startups there.
Very interesting. Engineering and manufacturing. We actually have 4 startups we'll introduce to you tomorrow. But
Excited
that's amazing.
about
I'll come to Aditya. Aditya, wrap this up for us. You've been building what? Companies out of Telangana for the last 20 years?
Yeah, 15 years.
We'll round it up to 20. Many of your, I know some of your companies didn't do well. I know one did really well. And I know that now you're all about figuring out how we can give back, pay forward. How can we unlock the value of this ecosystem, both as an investor, as a founder? I want to hear a little bit about that. I want you to focus on the future. You have 22 years ahead after 15, rounded up to 20 years of building. What do you want to do as someone here who cares? And what would you like the state, other founders, incubators, everyone on this stage to do to contribute a massive number to 3 trillion?
So for me, I'm from Hyderabad, been here all my life, apart from a few years outside. So for me, when I was building out of Hyderabad, it felt so natural. Not that just because I'm from here, but just that the talent availability was there. And this I'm talking 2009, 2010. And that could not be more truer in 2025. Now, when I run an early stage fund now. We've done about 42 investments over the last year and a half. And 11 of them are from Hyderabad. And when I find companies that pitch to us, there's a certain authenticity when Hyderabad founders pitch to us. They're not trying to hype things up. They're giving you the reality. The amount that they're raising is what they need. The valuations are not in space, pun intended. They're still grounded in reality. So I see all of these things, this authenticity that we see out of Hyderabad. So my biggest question was then, we seem to have all of the ingredients. What is the missing recipe? And we spoke about this a bit, and I think one of the key things that we've identified is that we need to till now we've been playing defense, where we said, okay, when the best companies, how do we prop the best companies that are building out of Hyderabad? Instead, if you take a slightly more aggressive stance and say, how can we find the best companies, best founders that are building anywhere in India or even the US and get them to move to Hyderabad? Right? I think getting the best talent, this will happen organically where founders like Chiran, Ravi, they will choose to build out of Hyderabad. But how can we also make sure that for whom they're in Delhi or other places, how can you get them to actually move to Hyderabad by because of all of the awesome things that the city has to offer. So I think getting talent to transport themselves here is, I think, going to be the biggest unlock for us. One thing I will comment on, and it has been done super successfully, is the government has put in a lot of effort and might behind bringing GCCs to Hyderabad over the last 20 years. Right? And what we have seen is when we put our mind and effort to something, results will come. And if we need the best innovation to happen out of Hyderabad, we cannot look for companies that have already scaled and say, hey, why don't you, uproot yourself from a Bangalore or a Chennai or a Mumbai and come here. No, you have to find the company, the founders that are sub 10 employees and tell them about all the awesome things that Hyderabad has to offer and say, hey, why don't you decide to build out of Hyderabad? And folks like what you guys are doing, where you are actually giving them a lot of visibility into what is possible in Hyderabad, is going to go a long way. So I think for me, the one big thing is get the top talent to make Hyderabad their home, which means everybody in this room, if you see somebody that's not from Hyderabad, please make them feel welcome. And there is a pun intended here because of what's happening in another city, without getting too political. But if we make Hyderabad feel welcoming, the best founders will come here, the best early stage employees will come here, and the best companies will be built out of here.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Aditya.
Yeah, Kavi, while your mic is not working, I'll jump in and utilize the opportunity. One thing you said is, what can we do, say, for seeing the transformation in the next 10 years? I feel we have enough, like, more is merrier, but the kind of stuff Hyderabad has done on creating the infrastructure, the government support system, etc. is amazing. I think there's a lot of, like when I'm meeting the startups here also, they're getting the angel funds. I think the 1 million sort of a funding gap is there. After we talk of Series B and C, the bigger funds will come in and invest across India, wherever. And I think a dedicated fund focused on Hyderabad, investing $1 million in, say, 15 to 20 startups, now just makes sense. And Hyderabad has a depth to absorb it.
Amazing. Thank you. They still don't want my mic to work. Okay. I think that was also a warning to say we're out of time. We'll do a quick, all of you are founders, startups, all of that, so I know you can all do elevator pitches. We'll do a quick 10-15 second wrap. Otherwise we'll keep talking before I get the other team in. A quick 10-15 second wrap on what is the one thing, right, that you believe. We've talked about talent, etc. Try to be as specific as we can. That you believe the ecosystem together, this includes primarily the government, it includes investors, that we should do for founders as our customers, right? And I know there are founders here, early stage ones. You also speak like the ecosystem, right? So we'll just go in a line. Maybe we'll start with Gautam. What should we together as an ecosystem do, the one thing that you think matters for founders over the next 22 years for unlocking the $3 trillion economy in this state?
I think the first and foremost problem would be to identify the right problem statement and pick the use case that can actually, worth actually putting your time and effort to solve that stuff, right? And it should have an impact which is, pretty much like touching every citizen in the state and the city, right? So I think that should be the goal, and that's something that you should aspire.
Awesome. Pass it to Ravi. So Gautam says we should encourage, activate ways to identify the right problem statement. So we are all building and pushing the resources towards what matters. Ravi.
I think we all, as government, founders, everyone in the economy should really 100% believe that in order to achieve a $3 trillion economy, it's not possible just doing the same things that we've done over the past decades. We've been very successful at services, we've been very successful at domestic consumption, but what's really going to take us to 3 trillion is IP-driven products.
Amazing. Thank you, Ravi. Chiran.
So as I said, I got a call from government. So what I'm saying is there are people who are ready to help. And we need help, and good mapping between these two has to happen. That is, the players like the ecosystem players like T-Hub can do that. And one more thing which I can take as a takeaway from Bangalore is there are so many informal gatherings happen between the VCs, and here all the meetings are formal. So that kind of informalness should come for the startups to actually evolve.
Chiran and I were discussing that we should lose our jacket before coming on stage. And we lost our jacket because of the point he's making.
I didn't get the memo. I didn't get the memo.
You didn't get the memo. So, Chiran, fantastic point. We are too formal about this ecosystem. How do we make it a much more lively, informal community? Amazing. Aditya.
I think our infrastructure currently seems to be ahead of where demand is, but demand is catching up very feverishly. So we need to continue to invest in infrastructure. One of the big things that people talk about other cities is how long it takes to get from place to place and how much of a breeze it is to get around in Hyderabad. That needs to stay true, which means we need to continue to invest in infrastructure, in housing, in schooling, and all of the office facilities, but make sure our travel times stay low.
Amazing. Nandan, how long was your commute from the airport in Bangalore and here?
Not too long.
Let's not talk about it. But what is the one thing we should all do together for our founders?
But yeah, I think maybe this is something maybe we've jammed about a little bit in the past as well, about what can we do to be able to actually kickstart the network effects, which are really difficult to start off. But one common theme that you see across, let's say, startup hubs or clusters. This is, let's say, maybe potentially like an SF, the Bay Area or Bangalore, or they're usually anchors. These anchors are either institutions, companies, or let's say sectors primarily, right? And organically, things kind of get built out. So in the case for, let's say, Bay Area, the institution was Stanford. For Bangalore, the company was basically, let's say, Infosys and Flipkart. We built on the shoulders of Flipkart with respect to getting early employees, like early customers, everything. So usually, if you're able to identify these anchors, which are in the form of either institutions, and there is a lot of incredible institutions in Hyderabad, maybe those are like the places where the creative energy is burning and potentially maybe can be channelized to be able to really unlock Hyderabad's potential in a big way. The second is institutions or companies, which is what can be that Flipkart, which potentially can really kickstart the entire network effect in a big way. Or there are thematic islands of excellence as well, which is potentially space, defense, aerospace. So in general, are there, let's say, industry champions that can be born out of these, which can end up being the anchor companies, which can basically spawn off a bunch of different companies, right? Like how maybe Skyroot gave rise to Perceptine. These are ways you actually kind of build network effects from, and it does take a little bit of time, but being able to encourage and really bring in these, facilitate these anchors can be a great way. And the second last point is, I actually think there is a lot to potentially also learn from maybe an ecosystem that, let's say, Texas built. It's like not really talked about a lot, but that's basically where, let's say, for example, outside of California, a lot of activity around space tech is being built. SpaceX's Starbase is there. There's like, I think, close to 100 space companies, and that's basically largely a lot of ease of doing business and regulatory arbitrage where they've laid out the red carpet. And I think that's one place where maybe Hyderabad can say, hey, if you're basically building in the space for drones, there are drone corridors. If you want to build deep tech, every deep tech company is at the end of the day a manufacturing company. Like, what can you do to be able to make sure that that part can be really, really smoothened out? I think that can lead to a place where you build a very different fabric of like a massive startup cluster, but not similar to what you see around, but in a very different direction.
Love it. Basically, we identify and build more startup heroes. Your ending pitch took longer than it takes to deliver your groceries. Over to Prabh.
Stretching the same point, so if you extend backwards, why is pharma, healthcare, or space tech, right? You will have names like IDPL, DRDL, BHEL come up. These are institutions that spawned a lot of institutions in return, right? So I think that the government of Telangana is going to be a large buyer, is continuing to be a large buyer, and will be a large buyer, and government anywhere. Like, for example, for space in the US, the government is the largest buyer, right? It's NASA that contracts in the end. At least for the business that I am in, I believe the government of Telangana can make it really simple for us to sell to them. I'm not just saying pitch. Pitching is super easy, right? We can get access. But what happens from pitching to contracting to deploying and to getting paid is a lot of things go wrong. And for a startup, it often leads to essentially deploying a lot of funds and getting a lot of hope. You give me a no, that's fantastic. But if you stretch me a year and then give me a no, it's really bad for me, right? So at least in healthcare, so for example, I have an idea of telling the government of Hyderabad that you should not have, government of Telangana, that nowhere in the world does any metropolis, you talk of New York, London, Paris, run its emergency services and contracts it at a state level. The requirement of a village that's operated through a PHC level healthcare is very different from a metropolis, right? You need an integrated fire. If there's a fire, you can't just send only fire engines. You have to send an ambulance alongside. You have to send police. You have to send a lot of services alongside.
Right.
So it's multi-agency integrated response. While it is very different, a police can do all of that in a village, or one fire brigade can. But in a city, when you have a multi-agency integrated setup, that's what we are good at. But there is no red carpet. I'm not even expecting a red carpet. I'm saying make it a bed of thorns, but give me the way and tell me this is how you contract, and then don't ask me to be an L1, because that's not what SpaceX is to NASA. It's not L1 contractor. It is T1, and it is subsidized on top, right? How do you make sure that you build those ecosystem is give us a straight path to contract and deployment, pay us in time, if not in advance, and at least from thinking POV, have an officer, have people who don't think L1 all the time.
Yeah, no, this is great. You also take longer than your ambulances to arrive, but I think it's important to call this out. There's a fun story on the ambulance, I'll tell you after this. But we have our Deputy Secretary Bhavesh Mishra sir here, who's always hiding in the background. But he did something very interesting. He also looks after TGMDC, which is the Mineral Deposits Corporation for the state. I got it wrong. He's laughing at me. But they recently floated a tender for drone companies to identify volume, using volumetric computational vision, to identify volume of available, minerals or stock at yards. This is unseen before. We don't have governments floating tenders for asking drone companies to do this, right? So there is a very good example of that. The fun story I was going to say, and you guys should try this, is when Prabha and I met the first time, he challenged me to see whether an Uber or an ambulance will arrive before. We opened both apps side by side, Uber and Red Health. If you didn't know this, Red Health is also India's Uber ambulance app. And the ambulance came before the Uber, and we cancelled both without doing anything, obviously. Pranay, over to you. What more should we do? You already took a little bit of that, but tell us more, and then we'll end with Gaurav.
Yeah, so $30 to $50 million fund by Telangana for Telangana. That's one. The second is, so at least for me, I believe there's already a lot of awesome happening. We should just be even more into storytelling, and not just in India but globally. Like Silicon Valley VC fund should think Hyderabad first, even before they think India. Those are two things. Simple.
Amazing, thank you. Gaurav, parting words.
So, see, 2047 vision is a nationwide vision. Every state has to contribute. I think Telangana, seeing everything that has happened in the past 2 days, it's extremely promising. But just a few seconds and few thoughts that I would like to leave everyone with is that we really need to focus on what it takes to commercialize innovation. We need to ensure that there is patient capital available to nurture these businesses, and anything that the state level governments can do to support that would be encouraged.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And from a Aurora Venture Partners standpoint, what I can say is that you're talking about a $30-50 million fund. We do plan on, it's already in the works, to dedicate at least 100 to 200 crores specifically towards startups that are being incubated in this region.
200 crores for Telangana.
100.
Amazing. 100
We'll get to the final number, but
I always round up numbers,
yes.
Gaurav, as you observe. I want to add that the state yesterday announced a 1,000 crore fund of funds, one of the largest in the country, which will then spawn into what all other investors are doing. So I guess we're on the path of what we want to do. I will add one last bit on the question I asked myself. I think startups have become synonymous with internet technology, but more importantly, startups have become synonymous with urban, both problems and founders, and it has become synonymous with mostly middle-aged male founders. I think those are two unlocks that we haven't done a good job of, both going into, the theme of the summit, going beyond the urban areas into peri-urban and the rural agri sort of regional economies. I think as founders, as startup ecosystem, we are not doing that enough, and bringing in that diversity, thinking all the way through grassroots with a diversity, set of founders, I think is a big unlock that's waiting to happen. Thank you so much to all the panelists and to everyone. We have a short, conversation here. I want to call upon Philip and Clemens. You guys should stay. And then if time allows and we don't get called for the final session, the reveal of the 2047 Telangana vision, then we will also do questions. Please join me in welcoming Philip and Clemens. I'll give a quick intro and then it's over to you guys. Okay. Philip and Clemens run a company called First Gen, spelt very differently because that's what startups do. Philip is the CEO and co-founder, and Clemens is the Chief Impact Officer and also looks after government relationships. They have done a very interesting job of creating a startup that will commercialize non-commercial innovations. I will hand it over to them to show us what they do. And you also have a demo for us up on the screen. Over to you guys. Do you want another microphone?
Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us like a few minutes here to introduce ourselves and hopefully give like a little perspective, different perspective on the startup ecosystem. What we heard here is exactly what drove me to invent hopefully something new which can add value to Telangana, to Hyderabad, but also India, but also other parts of the globe, because you mentioned all the problems we basically have in the startup ecosystem. You need most like perfect founders, how to find them, no matter what program came up, even Y Combinator, whatever, the probabilities of success didn't rise. Billions of people are excluded globally from the innovation ecosystem. You have a lack of funds, it takes too long, the investment probability, like investment quota, 3, 4, 5% is way too low. It's always like hunting for the next unicorn. And if you add like some additional information, like 3% on average, more or less, of all innovation gets funding. From these 3%, 90, depending on the statistic, to 99% fail. It takes forever to deploy it. And whenever you start a company, I'm a serial entrepreneur as well. I was twice a billionaire, twice nothing to eat. I had it all, internal murder, all this stuff when money steps in. And I was like, we have to do something new. Because the backbone of every society, in my opinion, is like when startups are successful, they become SMEs, right? Small and medium-sized enterprises, sometimes here an M is in front of it. So how to increase probabilities, give everybody a chance, speed up the innovation, and make sure you can deploy way more purposeful innovation, not just the moonshot programs globally. And this is basically what we're executing on. Clemens will just like in a few seconds demonstrate down, she has to stand down there, just something of a live system where we basically, we do everything different. In our system, the innovator does not become the entrepreneur. So it's a system where if you don't want to become an entrepreneur, you don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to take the hassle or the shelved IP. We have this. We need more intellectual property-driven companies. So basically what we do, we centralize entrepreneurship. Everybody globally can apply. We partnered with 200 universities, starting here in Telangana 1.5 years ago. We have an office in T-Up, Delhi, and we're expanding our way here in the Indian market because I really love the attitude here. Let's do it. So the goal is to, if you automate company building until Series A level, until the end of Valley of Death, always the same reasons why companies fail. Mostly it's founders driven, or like we call it negative, value destructive human behavior, ego, greed, no self-reflection. Then it takes forever to receive funds, right? And you can't pay your team, you lose reputation, and all this hassle begins. We basically bridge the Valley of Death, and then we hand these, we add market demand, real orders, and then we hand them over to the industry for production. So we're expecting to be able, with that new system, with full automation, we expect to create up to 100,000 companies per year. Sounds crazy if you compare it with the manual approach, but we're going to score 500,000 to 1 million patents and later stage ideas. Doesn't have to be patented. We have a way higher contractual rate. Why? Because we don't have to judge teams. We are the team. centrally. So we can also focus on just purposeful innovation. We can give tons of people more chances. We have a fair payout system, no round financing anymore. Everybody has a fair cut, also the academic side, which is completely underplayed all the time. And founders end up, after all the hassle, if they make it, with 1 to 10%. You can look it up, these statistics. So we are dedicated also to Hyderabad and also Telangana. Today we just decided to do way more here, thanks to my partner here, Raj Vangapandu. And we're going to deploy and we're going to build up to 1,000 companies just for Telangana alone. Sounds crazy, but this should result in up to 250,000 new jobs, 250,000 families having new income, whatever, or additional income within the next 24 months, starting in Q1 in 2026. So it's not just theory, it's actually almost live. We put in there 5 years, almost died ourselves 3 times. And we're now really well back. We have all resources. We're really happy to do so when it's really blood, sweat, and tears. But then imagine you're an innovator, you can outsource these blood, sweat, and tears and sleepless nights, right? And this is what we do. And so, Clemence, if you go to the laptop and just like 2-3 minutes, 1-2 minutes, show a little bit from our ecosystem. The storyline is more about SMEs, less startups. We have no startup wording in our system. Yeah, that's what we do. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So I will just, for practicality reasons, be standing over here while I demystify how is it possible that we're able to create so many companies in parallel. When you remove founder dependency and you replace it with a tech AI-driven platform and you introduce standardization and automation to company building, you can not only reduce dramatically the risk of failure, but also dramatically reduce the cost of company building. So here on this is our main website, and you can learn more about us as firstgen.com, where we go over our vision to be the biggest machine for creating small and medium enterprises and contribute to global GDP through mass commercialization of IP. And you can actually check out some of our companies that we've already incorporated and created. Many of these actually come from India. So we are a global platform, but we've already created 134 companies. Some of them are even from Telangana. All of them have to align with at least one UN SDG. So all of the innovations that we select and very quickly also, we work with different target groups, right? So we work with innovators, with universities, investors, governments. We have specific web pages because we have different target groups. So this website is specifically for academic partners and innovators. And I'd like to come over to our platform where we have it's a center of all engagement. So this is where anyone can sign up and basically take part. So this is where innovators can apply. We can actually filter through up to 500,000 patent applications a year. So obviously this is not done manually. We actually wanted to give you a quick insight as to what the back end of our platform looks like. These are some of the innovation submissions that we've received. So for example, here we can click and see what was the scoring done. So again, this scoring was done automatically through AI. We can actually go through the portfolio side as if we were an investor who wanted to acquire or buy some of the shares. And to give you a concrete example of one of the companies from here, from Telangana itself, it's an innovation that helps visually impaired people see better. So, for instance, has its own website. So this is just to make tangible what we do, but connecting it to the 47 agenda and to the trillions of dollars of untapped potential that we have in IP, this is how we're contributing to how SMEs are created and scaled in a new way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One few last words. So how we place it is not a competition to venture capital. So even Morgan Stanley, whatever large investment bank says, the venture capital was invented in 1946, right? And they say it's the first alternative to really create companies. But imagine if you're a VC, you have a portfolio, you have 9 out of 10 failures. If you're better, I think you're better. That was awesome. If you're, let's say, you can give your failed innovation a second chance to basically decrease your write-offs, right? To increase your IRR in the portfolio, that you could also reinvest more, right? It compounds over time. 2 or 3 facts and figures. We created a 3-digit number within 2 weeks, like as a test run. We are entering like 4 digits per month as we actively create. 5 digits as goal mid next year. We cut the cost compared to manual company building by up to 99.6%. So when before you have to invest 1 million, right? We basically can do that with, okay, you can do the math. Sounds crazy, but it just also counts for the early stage side, meaning you also de-risk early stage because you have 99.6% less risk of default, right? The last 0.4 we cover with our earnings, right? And yeah, so we are openly look for collaborations if wanted, right? We already have 75 partners here in India from the university side. We are the TIAP. Yeah, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Philip.
And, yeah, thank you for a little listening to like something different where everything...
No, I don't think any startup session is interesting without seeing a product in action. So I'm so glad that you guys did that. We do have, I'm told we have 10 minutes before the next session. So we can do 3-4 questions for both Clemens, Philip, and the panel here. We'll pass a mic around. Maybe we can do 2 or 3 questions if you guys have any questions. Yes, sir. We'll start there and then we'll come back to you. Can you guys pass the mic? You can take this room. Stay back, Philip. Clemens, why don't you join us?
One second. You want a mic for the audience, right? One mic for the audience, please. Thank you.
You please tell us also who the question is for. The mic's not working. It's intentional. I don't know why they're doing this. Guys, can we get the microphone on there? Can you pass the other one? Are you on? No.
Hello,
Okay.
hello. Yeah. So, hi, this is for all, in fact.
I'll pick one.
Yeah, you can pick one. Okay, hi, thank you for giving me this opportunity. First, I ask a question. My name is Raju. I'm co-founder of a generative AI company called Generative Minds. We are building a massive project for Indian Navy. It's a no internet based, and we are doing almost like for them 140,000 employees data and 250 ships and 200,000 hospitals data. We're automating it. Millions of documents, we are automating it using like in-house built open source architecture. Couple of investors saw our progress, and one of the UK investors showed very much interest. They sent the LOI also, saying like they want to invest, but they want a partner in India so that they can actually match the funding.
Got it.
The issue is here, I mean, I don't know, people when I talk to like in Gujarat or like, in Gurgaon, they're saying getting funding is easy when I'm in like, Gujarat or like in Gurgaon. I'm not sure, I'm in Hyderabad. I think I'm seeking help from you guys.
No, thank you.
Telangana.
Thank you for your question, Raju Garu. You're saying that you want to build something along with what you're doing in the US, also in India, and you're seeking co-investment. You're figuring out where should we do it, and you're getting mixed views on where it should happen. The answer to that question is it should be done from Telangana. But I will let, Gaurav, do you want to take this? Do you want to just react to what it means? Because we always hear about examples, founders building from here and then going, out to the US. Or you can come up here and tell us if you know, tell us what's the right way to do it for people who are building there and want to do something here in India. How does investments work?
No, sorry, actually.
No, I believe your startup is already based in Hyderabad, right?
Yes, yes.
And you have a UK investor who's
Yes.
issued an LOI, but they want an Indian investor on the cap table too.
Yes, yes. And also, we are building this massive generative AI agentic platform. It's going to be very much helpful entire universe, like where the data is sovereign and the data protection is there. OpenAI only takes 1 or 2 files.
Sure.
But we are doing it in massive, like lakhs of files here, and pre-process them any kind of file format, including like you say Excel also, which has like thousands of rows.
See, let me just address the funding aspect of it,
Yes.
right? I mean, you made a reference to Gurgaon and other regions in India that perhaps attract more venture capital. I would say Hyderabad has enough of these pockets. You should definitely get in touch with T-Hub. We are participating and doing a lot of work there. We'll be happy to evaluate and be supportive. But what I would like to leave you with is that there are enough and more sources for capital. I mean, I would not isolate that to any specific region. Just get a hold of the right targets. And
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. One more quick, short question. I think we have many. We'll start with sir here, go back there. If you still have time, we'll. Sir, please keep it short. Food is also taking time, so are ambulances, so we don't have too much time today. Just keep it really short. Thank you.
My name is V.N. Vishnu. So I retired as Principal Secretary, Government of Telangana, General Administration Department. So I worked for 36 years. And by God's grace, 30 years was in the districts. Even the cadre of the senior secretary level, I was a district magistrate of Guntur district. And the last 6 years also, almost about 5 years I spent in the villages, because entire Telangana I was posted as the roll observer, that is election roll observer by the Election Commission of India. And I've seen the tribal areas, the rural areas, the urban areas, and now actually I should reveal the actual story here.
Vishnu Garu, we'd love to get a question from you, please.
The question is...
So that then we can pick someone from the panel.
No, the question is, today actually Telangana is future ready.
Yes, sir.
The very reason is, every village is connected by fiber optic cable.
Right,
every
sir.
village. And then every village is connected, every household with a piped drinking water. So with that actually, with your actual pure and rare, it can easily integrate into this startup ecosystem in the state. It can really...
I think both smartphone availability, many people don't know this, but usage of 5G, average per user is 22 GB. And you know, so I think how do we unlock what we have learned in urban India with startups? How do we take that to rural and agri areas and use what's available today through smartphones and 5G? I think beyond market expansion, that's something we have to do together as an ecosystem.
Yeah.
We are super tight on time.
Last question.
Sir, last question for you.
Yeah. So why do entrepreneurs need to tap your what you call gates or doors? Rather, if there is a democratic platform where entrepreneurs only put his profile at one place and let the venture capitalist or debt funds or sovereign, whatever financial platforms or products, let them change the entrepreneurs. Instead of entrepreneurs going and tapping all the venture capitalists, let them have a democratic interface where both should be given equal, what you call, level playing field and respect.
No, agreed, sir. I think it's a very good idea. How do we build a platform for what's working so that more entrepreneurs across grassroots, rural, beyond urban can have access to it? And we flip the method and say, how do VCs, actually that's what by the way today also happens, how do investors go beyond founders instead of the opposite happening using a platform? We saw a similar platform in action today. Thank you so much for your thoughts. We are out of time. I'll hand it back to the MC to wrap up this session, and then we can all head to Hall 1.
I think because this session has been so productive, let's give a big round of applause. Yes, why not? This session has been such a productive and engaging session and such an important role in the future of Telangana or any place to grow. We are sure to have so many things running up in our mind. We can always discuss over a coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we end our day 2 final session of the Telangana Rising Utsav. Give a big round of applause for the Vision 2047. I cordially thank all our speakers, esteemed speakers, for sharing all the amazing initiatives, energizing all the thoughtful perspectives. The session reinforced the innovation that is not at the moment. It's a movement and Telangana is amazingly proud of it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience. My absolute pleasure to invite Shri Bhavesh Mishra sir with a huge round of applause, our Deputy Secretary, IT and Head of Telangana Mineral Development Corporation with a huge round of applause to do the honors for our valuable speakers. All right, oh sure. Give a big round of applause for Mr. Philip. You heard him a lot today. Let us have you a little center of the stage for the photographers to take nice pictures and have great memories. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause, Mr. Philip, founder and CEO, First Gen. Moving on, Miss Clemency, give a big round of applause to her. Let's welcome her, the Chief Impact Officer of First Gen. So today we proudly present 2 iconic GI tag treasures of Telangana. The exquisite Pochampalli Kutch shawls, renowned for their intricate tie and dye weaving, embody the timeless skills of our artisans. Complementing them are the vibrant cherry marks, handicraft in the traditional storytelling that carries centuries of Telangana's cultural heritage. Let us celebrate these GI recognized art forms and the master craftsmen who keep our traditions alive. Thank you. Moving on, the co-founder Swiggy, give it up for him. After this, you can Swiggy. Give a big round of applause for Mr. Nandan Reddy. Please don't forget to feed us before you leave. Give a big round of applause. Thank you. Moving on, Mr. Aditya Vuchi, founder and managing partner, VC Mint. Huge round of applause to him. Mr. Gaurav Gulati, huge round of applause as we welcome him, the founder and managing partner, Aroa Venture Partners. Thank you. Mr. Gautam Kurumella, huge round of applause to him. The Startup Solutions Architect Leader, Amazon Web Series. What a great innovation. Let's give a round of applause. Mr. Pranay Gupta, the co-founder, 91 Springboard, on board. Give a big round of applause to him. Then we have the founder and CEO of Red Health, Mr. Prabheet Singh. Thank you so much, sir. Moving on, the founder, Cosmos Serve. Give a big round of applause, Mr. Chiranjeevi Fanindra, on board. Heartiest congratulations, sir. Moving on, the co-founder, Perceptine, Mr. Ravi Teja Chivkula, with a huge round of applause. And then we have, thank you so much. Then we have your favorite, give a big round of applause for the CEO T-Hub, Kavi Kruth on board, the moderator of this amazing session, because there is a lot of resounding there. All right, thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience. Can we request all of you to please come aboard for a group picture? You can keep all of that aside. You'll have bags here below the stage. We are providing jute bags for you for all of that. Please pose for a nice picture. Yeah, the T-Hub team, the incredible T-Hub team to kindly join us. A group photograph. All the T-Hub team to kindly come forward. So, all the T-Hub team, please, quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just few minutes left for the unveiling of the Telangana 2047 vision document by our Honorable CM, the Chief Minister, Enumala Revanth Reddy Garu, at 6 p.m. in the outdoor lawns, followed by the drone show. We are set, all set, to witness the amazing drone show in the lawns, which is followed after the unveiling of the Honorable CM, unveiling the document at 6 p.m. in the lawns. We are all set for the world record, ladies and gentlemen. Request all of you to kindly be available. Thank you. Thank you so much, each and everyone, all the dignitaries and honorable panelists. Thank you so much, each and everyone. This is MC Anusha signing off for the day. Thank you so much.